Magic is real, not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. From the moment you could speak, you were taught that magic was fiction, fairy tales, wizard hats, and movie effects. You were told it belongs in fantasy novels, not in real life. And like everyone else, you believed it. You had no reason not to. After all, everyone around you agreed magic wasn't real. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Just because society laughs at something doesn't mean it isn't true. In fact, history shows us that the most powerful truths are always the first to be ridiculed, then suppressed, and only later accepted, once it's too late to weaponize them. Magic isn't about waving wands or casting lightning from your fingers. It's not about superstition or escapism. It's about understanding how your mind, emotions, and will interact with reality in ways that most people are too distracted or too programmed to notice. And if you're ready to question everything you were taught about what's real and what's not, then this is where the spell begins. You weren't born disconnected. You were born wide open, sensitive to energies, curious about invisible forces, instinctively aware that reality was more fluid than adults admitted. Children talk to imaginary friends not because they're delusional, but because their minds haven't yet been fenced in. They feel the charge in a room, they dream in symbols, they live in synchronicity. But then the training begins. The system steps in early to dull your sensitivity, drown your wonder, and replace mystery with certainty. You're handed a worldview made of hard edges. If it can't be measured, it isn't real. If it can't be seen, it's fantasy. If it doesn't serve the machine, it's useless. You're taught to trade intuition for obedience, imagination for logic, belief for cynicism. Every time you felt something you couldn't explain, you were told it was just your imagination. Every time you saw patterns that others didn't, you were warned not to overthink. Slowly, the doors closed. The part of you that remembered something deeper, something ancient, was put to sleep. And the worst part? You forgot that it was ever awake to begin with. That's how deep the programming goes. This wasn't an accident. Societies don't thrive on free thinkers. They thrive on predictability, on rules, on control. And magic, true magic, is the opposite of control. It's fluid, chaotic, and powerful. It doesn't respect authority. It bends the rules of probability and whispers that maybe, just maybe, you are far more than what you've been told. That's dangerous to the people who need you to stay in line. So it's no surprise that magic was ridiculed, demonized, and buried beneath layers of distraction. Not because it doesn't work, but because it does. Most people think magic is about changing the world outside of you. It's not. It's about changing the alignment inside of you. Your focus, your energy, your belief. And in doing so, you shift into a version of the world where what you desire already exists. You don't force the world to bend to your will. You become the version of yourself who already lives the outcome you want. That's the real secret, and that's what they don't want you to know. Now, you might be wondering why this isn't common knowledge, why it's not in textbooks, on news outlets, or taught in schools. The answer is simple. Real magic is self-directed power. It doesn't require permission. It doesn't need an institution. It doesn't make anyone else money. And in a world built on dependency and external validation, self-sourced power is the ultimate threat. You were never meant to feel powerless. That sense of disconnection, that low hum of dissatisfaction you've carried for years. It isn't depression or laziness. It's the soul's hunger to remember, to return to the truth you were born with but taught to forget. The truth that you are not a powerless observer, but a participant in the fabric of reality itself. Your thoughts matter. Your emotions carry force. Your imagination is not escapism. It's a tool of creation. And your belief? It's the ignition key. Think back to the moments in your life when everything just clicked, when you followed a gut feeling and it led to something incredible, when you thought of someone and they called, when you took a risk and the universe seemed to catch you. These weren't coincidences. They were cracks in the matrix, glimpses of your forgotten potential. Magic didn't vanish from the world. It was hidden in plain sight, disguised as coincidence, misfiled under luck, or buried beneath the noise of modern life. But if you look closely, you'll see it everywhere. In synchronicities, in dreams, in the way music moves you or a symbol lingers longer than it should. These are invitations, signals, reminders. The system made sure you'd stop paying attention, that you'd laugh off your own intuition. But you're here now, listening, feeling that inner fire stirring again. And that means the spell they placed on you is beginning to break. Most people don't realize it, but magic has never been one size fits all. It's not confined to one belief system, one religion, or one dusty grimoire. In fact, one of the biggest misconceptions about magic is that you have to believe in spirits or deities or ancient rituals for it to work. You don't. What you need is alignment between your intention, your emotion, and your chosen model of reality. That's where real magic begins to unfold. Because magic isn't a fixed thing, it's a language. And there's more than one dialect. There are 4 main lenses, or models, through which people understand and use magic. Each one is different, but all of them can be effective if approached with clarity and commitment. The first is the mind model. This is the psychological view that magic works because it influences your perception, your subconscious programming, and ultimately your behavior. You shift the lens through which you see the world, and as you do, the world shifts in response. Think of it like this. If you believe you're lucky, you move differently. You speak differently. You notice opportunities others overlook. Eventually, the world begins to match that belief, and what began as a mindset becomes manifestation. The second is the spirit model. This is the oldest, the most traditional. In this model, you're working with external entities, spirits, gods, ancestors, or forces of nature. You make offerings, perform rituals, and form relationships with intelligences beyond the material world. To skeptics, this sounds like superstition. But to those who've practiced it seriously, it's a living conversation with reality itself. The results speak louder than the labels. Then there's the psychological model, which overlaps with the mind model but takes a slightly different route. It views all magic as symbolic communication with the subconscious mind. You aren't influencing spirits, you're influencing yourself. A candle spell, in this view, is not supernatural. It's a symbolic act that imprints meaning onto your unconscious, activating internal shifts that ripple into your behavior, energy, and outcomes. This model appeals to those who lean on science but still sense there's more beneath the surface. Finally, we have the simulation model, a newer perspective but rapidly gaining traction. Based on theories in quantum physics, computer science, and even philosophy, it suggests that reality is, quite literally, a simulation. Not a metaphor, a coded environment responding to observation, intention, and will. In this view, magic is like hacking the code. A focused mind, a charged symbol, a well-formed ritual. These become input commands, altering the system from within. Which model is correct? That's the wrong question. The truth is, all of them work, if you work them. Magic is less about choosing the perfect theory and more about engagement. The model doesn't create the result. Your belief, focus, and emotion do. Models are tools, not rules. And the more you understand that, the more flexible and powerful your practice becomes. This is where most people get stuck. They overthink. They want proof before they act. But magic doesn't wait for your certainty. It responds to your commitment. It thrives on momentum, not perfection. And that's why the most powerful magicians aren't the ones who read the most books. They're the ones who do, who experiment, who test, who play. Because magic isn't passive. It's interactive. You don't get to stand on the outside and analyze it into submission. You have to step into the current and let it respond. What's wild is that even those who dismiss magic still use it unconsciously. Every vision board, every affirmation, every emotionally charged decision, these are low-key spells. Every time you focus on an outcome, take action toward it, and hold the belief that it's possible. You're doing magic without realizing it. The difference is, when you understand the models, you can do it deliberately. You stop playing by accident and start playing to win.